Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host, Steve and Jeff. G'day, Steve-O.
How are you?
Good, mate. Today we're talking about blood type diet. Is it real? Is it factual? What's the science say? Are we living in fairyland? Is this just a loosey-goosey sort of thing made up by quack practitioners? So, mate, we're going to get into it. We've got questions. You've got some scientific papers. So this will be a good one. You ready for it?
Yeah, it should be massive.
All right.
Yeah.
So Steve, I'm drinking my Aurora coffee. I will not bow to any sponsor.
Very interesting.
This is my almond milk coffee, which I
almond milk,
yeah. Well, I mean, Steve, I've got completely off dairy.
All right.
But this is part of the conversation that we're having. So some people can drink dairy. I think bees. I don't know.
Bees, you're right. Yeah.
And other people like O's should not touch dairy.
O's and A's shouldn't touch dairy.
O's and A's should not touch dairy. Yeah. Where did all this stuff come from? Because the other thing, apparently, and I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently as an O, I should not be drinking coffee as well too.
Right. Yeah.
So, which would be devastating for me if I had to give up my coffee.
Exactly. It's interesting where it all came from, and but it was popularised in Australia by a book by Dr. Peter D'Adamo. He's a naturopath.
I remember
in California, I think. Yeah. Know that. And he had a book called Eat Right for Your Type. And
it's catchy.
It's Eat Right, and it's got the 4, like number 4, because there's 4 main blood types.
Yeah.
Does everyone know what a blood type is?
Well, I think we probably need to go there. So back in the ancient of days, they couldn't understand why, when they were trying to give when was the first blood fusion done, Steve?
It was 1901.
Right. Yeah. But when they started, they couldn't work out why sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
And when they say it worked, like you'd get better, and sometimes you died. And it was like your blood would agglutinate and stick together, and you'd die.
They didn't know why, right?
No one knew why.
We'll give it a crack.
Give it a crack. You're running out of blood.
What happens.
Have some blood from this bloke or whatever, and you die.
And so they've worked out that there's 4 main blood types, but there's actually there's A, there's AB, there's O, and there's B. I probably said them in the wrong order, but anyway. And then you've got your rhesus.
Yeah, rhesus your plus minus.
Yeah. So I'm O positive.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. So I'm O positive, which doesn't mean I'm any better than a negative. But for people who have got a negative rhesus, sometimes they need to have injections, right? Or for their baby. Yeah, babies, when they're having. Why is that, Steve?
Because rhesuses react with each other. Right. Okay. Now, if you're a positive, you can accept positive blood or negative blood.
So why is that a problem for a pregnant mum giving birth to a baby?
Let's say you're a mum and you're a negative.
Yep.
And the father is a positive.
Yep.
The blood of the baby could be either or.
Yep.
And therefore there could be cross-reactivity.
Wow.
Yeah, because you could have positive blood inside a negative blood, if that makes sense.
It does.
Positive baby inside a negative
Well, what used to happen before 1901?
They died.
Right.
You'd be born with a rhesus baby, which is often fatal.
Really?
Yeah.
Every single time?
Oh, most times. But it was only after the second birth, because the first birth you build up antibodies, and the baby would be born normally. And the second baby and third baby, it would get worse because there'd be more antibodies.
Get out.
Yeah, they just simply die.
And how frequent was that?
Pretty frequent.
I would say it would be pretty bloody frequent. I did not know that. Did you know that? I did not know that.
Yeah. This wasn't as big a problem as it was many, many years ago, because we didn't travel as much,
Right. So this is kind of getting back into this theory of, in certain geographical locations, people used to congregate, had similar blood types.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's very correct.
Right.
And it's more correct than you know, because, the original blood type was, and I'm going back many, 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 many years, was A, but it sort of died out. Okay, so if you look up Wikipedia, they'll say A is the oldest blood type.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
so the cradle of civilization, as far as I am concerned, and I think even these Fruit Loop evolutionists feel this way as well too, is that the cradle of civilization is like the Middle East. Now, some people say Africa, but which is kind of like there's a land bridge there, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of around that region. Are those people predominantly A?
They're predominantly O.
Oh.
Yeah, predominantly O types.
So where did A come from?
A came from, as I said, it came then died out, but then it came back again as a mutation. Now mutations are changes in things that happen all the time.
Right.
You're born with slightly this, slightly that, slightly different, because the genes are not perfectly, like your kids are not identical, even though they're from the two same parents. There's been some, I'll call them mutations. They're not bad or good, just changes, we'll call them.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the change sheds when I used to, people go, "You're a mutant."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got the tail at the front. What's with that?
That's exactly right. Well, mutations
that never happened.
We've still got our tails a bit from the old days.
Yeah, right. So yeah.
Now they're becoming a bit redundant these days.
Oh yeah.
Because so we don't need them anymore.
Yeah,
but so anyway, so these mutations came to being, and there's some differences now. Now, before we really get into diet, we have to know there's some physiological, provable differences between A's, O's, and all this sort of stuff. Apart from the blood, it means something to the body.
Right.
Now I'll give you a few examples, and these are published in the literature. Basically, I'll just start with diseases because this is a health podcast, so we'll just focus on diseases.
Right.
So there's certain diseases that are more prone to certain blood types. So, for example, rheumatic diseases or arthritic conditions, autoimmune diseases are more prone to blood A's.
And then what is the reason for that?
Because I'll say I'm an A.
Are you an A?
I'm an A plus. Okay. Okay.
Wouldn't expect anything else, Steve.
So I can actually take your blood and use it.
No, not if I don't. Not without my permission, Steve.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, but no, I understand what you're saying. If you get into an accident, I'm the universal donor.
Oh, you're not exactly universal donor because you can't give to an O negative.
Oh, but an O negative can. So
it's
O negative is a universal donor.
Yeah.
So I can give it. I just can't take it.
Yes,
is that right? Is that right?
You can give it to me, but you can't take it from me. Because I'm an A positive. I would give you A antigens and that would cause problems.
And my blood would coagulate and I'd die. But if I
you'd get very sick.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. Would it keep me alive though? If you're the only person around and I got my, bitten by something and lots of blood came out.
Yeah.
And then the only blood that was, we were on a desert island, the two of us.
All right.
A romantic interlude, we'd call it.
Absolutely.
No, but like if you're the only person that could give me blood, would it keep me alive or would I die?
Oh, it'd probably make you die quicker.
Oh, really?
It really is bad.
Wow.
There were people in the war that tested with this, and I'm not saying consciously.
First World War or Second World War?
Second World War.
Right.
The First World War, the rhesus blood transfusions was a thing, but not a big thing. Second World War was a big thing. Right. So you would wear these thing called dog tags. I think everyone knows that.
Yeah,
on there,
blood type on it.
Yeah, you have your blood type on it. Now, let's say my mate Johnny, I'm trying to think of an old name, but Johnny Weissmuller, he was an old Tarzan. Anyway, so I was thinking of an old name from World War II.
Right.
Let's say he was going to go home because he was on rotation. He was going to go home in a month and he got killed. I would steal his dog tags, okay, wear them.
So that you could go home early?
I'd go home early. Oh. Very common thing. Okay, all fine. You get out of the war.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. You got out of the war, except let's say...
you got hit.
Yeah, let's say Johnny had a blood type, let's make it an O, and an O, say, negative, which means they can only get O negative blood. And I wore his O negative blood. Or let's say he's AB positive.
Your cactus.
Yeah, say he's AB positive. He can take anyone's blood then without a problem. AB positive.
Right.
And I put my AB positive thing up, but I'm really an O negative, and I get an AB positive blood or whatever I get, that could probably kill me.
Wow.
And, in war, sometimes you need blood because sometimes you get shot.
Yep.
So that's where the research came from, because you don't experiment on people giving them the wrong type of blood. But this is when you accidentally gave them a transfusion.
Yep, and it didn't work out too well.
Didn't work out too well for the people.
So coming back to the A blood type and rheumatoid arthritis is what you're saying. Yeah. So the reason for that being what, Steve, again, sorry?
We A's have shitty immune systems.
Right.
Yeah. We have bad immune systems, and I'll explain why the reasons for that is.
So does that mean on the flip side you're less likely to get things like lupus and autoimmune diseases?
Actually more likely to get that.
You are?
I'm more likely.
Oh, because it dysfunctions.
It's a dysfunctional immune system because A's were the first agriculturals. Think of A, agricultural.
You had ankylosing spondylitis.
I did, yeah.
So that was obviously your predisposition to that because of your blood type.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the risk factors.
Okay, and this is proven. This is not just
this is published in the literature.
Okay.
So these are we're getting onto the diet thing later, but it's related to this.
No, I think we have to set the foundations to even actually show the scientific proof, if you like, that there are differences between people with different blood types.
Yep.
We know, and I think everybody would commonly accept as fact, that the different blood types cannot indiscriminately just willy-nilly, hey, take my blood, put my blood in him.
I think
there's universal donors, which is the O neg, which I thought it was all O's, but there you go, you learn something.
You can't give to an O neg.
Yeah, but I can take from an O neg.
You can.
Yeah.
Because they haven't got a rhesus factor.
Yeah.
Negative.
Makes sense.
Call it nothing.
Yes.
You've got a rhesus factor, positive, like me.
Yeah.
So, A's are more prone to all that sort of stuff. So our immune systems are a bit shitty because we were the first agriculturals, the blood types. In other words, we grew up in like a farming communities.
Right.
And this is, the A's sort of evolved in that sort of environment.
So you think that the A's were the original or the most predominant peoples?
Well, no, the O's were.
Oh, the O's were.
Yeah, the A's were many years ago. They sort of died out.
They died out. But before that, right back
O's.
when? So the O was the original blood type. Well, that's what I said before, because obviously the cradle of humanity, I believe, is obviously the Middle East.
Yeah.
Right, all around that area.
Sure.
So therefore the original blood type would have been O's.
Yeah, of course.
The best ones.
And then, yeah. And so I've got a funny story about that, but I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I was giving a talk on this a few years ago, and I made a mistake. But anyway, it's quite a funny story. I'll tell you now.
Okay.
I was trying to, when you're giving a presentation to students, like this was my job years ago, and I thought I'd just crack a joke, as you do, you throw in a joke, like we're doing here. And I said, and A's have got this, going through all the biochemical differences. We've got more cortisol, we've got more of this. And also evidence shows that A blood types are better looking. And I just said it like that, just as a joke, to all the students.
Of course.
And they didn't laugh, they wrote it down. And I thought, all right, I'm going to get out of this.
Absolute power. With much power comes much responsibility, Steve.
Terrible. So I thought at the end I'd reveal my blood type and reveal that I'm an A and reveal it was a joke and everyone would have a bit of a laugh. I forgot to say that at the end because it was running short of time.
Was it on the test?
So I think I misled a whole bunch of students out there that think A's are better looking.
So what they'd be doing is they'd be asking girls when they go, have you got A? Because they want to have good looking children, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But also they can imagine their, what's it called? Tinder profile. They're going, I'm
what's it called? Like he doesn't know. What's it called again?
I had to say the other because I know there's
one. Is it swipe left or swipe right, Steve?
I don't know. I haven't been on Tinder. I honestly haven't. I was like, I've been married I've been with Beck for about 10 years now. So I do it discreetly offline. Don't cut that out. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But so you imagine them on Tinder going, I'm 6'2", got blue eyes and I'm an A blood type. You can imagine there'd be some people out there maybe doing that. All right. So I was joking around.
So coming back to what's wrong with A's, and then we can get to what's right with A's. So what else is wrong with A's?
All right. Well, let's say that there's a big virus going around the world. Okay.
Let's just pretend.
We are pretending. Now, I've got a study here, and you can read the title. I'll put it off camera. It's the
microbial pathogens.
Just that,
the ABO blood group and link to the big C19er. I think we can say it. I think we can say it now. I think we can say it, but I don't want to. Because I've been beaten up and held down, and I think I don't have Stockholm syndrome. That's where you actually like your captives, but yeah.
Well, I'll edit it and I'll read the title because people want the title. It published 2022, so this year. ABO blood group and link with a virus, a comprehensive review of the reported associations and their possible underlying mechanisms.
Right.
And what they found was, and I'll quote this, was blood type A is the most associated with specific virus severity and mortality.
Wow.
While blood O types have a protective factor against disease progression.
Absolutely. We're the best blood type. I'm just saying, if you're an O, join. I'm going to get a T-shirt, join blood type O. But I think in terms of, So you guys are weak, sickly. It's imagine you're not all died out by now.
Well, we would have unless we grouped together and was able to get better hygiene and all this sort of stuff and grow farms and crops.
Right.
And that's why we're more tolerated to having more crop foods. Like, for example, we are more tolerant of grains than stupid O blood types.
Yes, I don't like grains. And this is why I thrive on a ketogenic diet.
Yes, you would.
Yep. Okay, so we're getting a little bit into diet here, but hang on, before we go there, let's just back up the horse and cart, Steve.
You want some more bad news about O's?
No. Oh, no. We're talking about A's. I want to.
Oh, A's. That's what I meant. Sorry, A's.
Yeah. We haven't finished dishing on A's yet. So,
all right. Well, A's, because we weren't hunting and gathering and weren't having the big protein foods that you guys were and the big ketogenic diets, we didn't need as much stomach acid, because we were, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So with lower stomach acid, we have a higher risk of gastric cancer.
Wow.
Yep.
So you were eating more pawpaw and pineapple?
Yeah, and grains and that sort of, growing stuff.
Okay.
So this is a published paper from 2019. It says blood groups A and AB are associated with increased risk of gastric cancer risk. Evidence from large reviews. So we've got a higher gastric cancers all through the gastric system. So it's crap, isn't it?
It is. So, okay, what's the good news about being an A then?
Oh, you want some good news now?
And yeah.
Yeah,
is there any more bad news for A blood types listening? Yeah. Oh, there is. Okay. Well, let's keep going with the bad news.
All right. Well, we picked
It's kind of funny, isn't it? As an I kind of just like to look at other people's misfortune and sort of,
You guys have lower.
Don't talk about A yet. Yeah, A.
We have higher risks of multiple sclerosis.
Wow.
So another autoimmune disease.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So,
yep.
Bad news. It's funny when I mentioned it, I've got some bad news for both of us that relates to A and O positive.
Yeah, we're talking about A right now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, I just got a funny one there.
Okay.
But I was downstairs now. I won't mention the girl's name because I didn't ask her permission. But she sits next to Tony, the officers, young girl.
Yep.
And I said to her, she said, what's the podcast on? I said, we're doing on blood type. Oh, my mum's on the blood type diet. And I said, oh, right.
Okay.
What's her blood type? Didn't know her blood type, but she's on the blood type diet for an autoimmune disease.
So she must be an A or an AB.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's right. And now it doesn't mean that O's don't get it.
Yeah.
It just means their risk factor is less.
Lower. Yeah.
Like being a male, you get a higher risk of viruses.
They're sexist.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But anyway, that's right.
No, I dished on men. I didn't dish on women.
No. Or anything else negative with A's?
The gastric cancers is bigger than you think because that's quite a bad one there.
Yeah.
I've mentioned MS. Lupus.
Well, we sort of mentioned at the beginning because I would have thought if your immune system is not as active, then therefore, because a strong immune system, and if it misfires, that's what causes the body to attack itself, right? But it just means that your immune system is just likely or more inclined to go haywire.
Yes, and also we're more likely to die of bacterial infections as well as viral infections. Wow. So any infections so think of the A immune system as being a bit shitty. So it's bad for autoimmune, bad for viruses, bad for bacteria, bad for cancer because a strong immune system protects us against cancer because the natural killer cells, which are typically lower in A's, have are worse. Can't kill as many cancer cells.
Okay. Steve-O.
Yes.
Shameless product flog.
Let's do it.
One of my favourite products coming into this time of year that I use all the time.
Yeah.
Amperage.
Amperage, the unit of power.
I love it.
That's what it is in the electrical.
I don't know how much of this is going to. Yeah, that's true.
It is.
I don't know how much of this is going to be blanked out, right? Because in terms of what it does, it could actually be quite funny if I actually say what it does and what we're allowed to say that it does. But it's been one of the mainstays of our business for a very long time. People use it before they train. It's great to use first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. It has numerous things why people take it.
Beneficial fats, can I say?
It does.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Good. What about the beautiful flavour?
It's got peppermint.
Flavour.
It's not bad.
Yeah, peppermint might do stuff.
It might.
Might.
First rule of Amperage Club.
Yeah.
We can't talk about
Amperage Club.
But yeah, guys, coming into summer, a lot of people train fasted.
Yep.
A lot of people find it beneficial to use before they train.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it.
I like that.
Exactly when you take it.
Yeah. I used to use it before I used to play soccer.
Yeah.
And I hate saying soccer for all my friends out there that love football, but there's so many codes of football here in Australia, we have to say that. But it's got several reasons why people take it.
Exactly.
Athletes take it. People before they do cardio take it. Mm-hmm. People before they get up first thing in the morning. People even take it in between
meals. Very
Steve.
important. Yeah.
But anyway, if you know, you know, and if you don't, then sorry, this has probably been a waste of about 30 seconds of your time.
I can certainly say it's a great product.
It is. Anyway, good one, Steve. We told everybody absolutely nothing.
Good.
We're not going to jail.
Yay! We are also, I say we, A blood type,
yep.
have also naturally higher cortisol levels.
Yeah, right. So you stress out more, or you're affected by stress more?
We're affected by stress more because there was less stress in our evolutionary time. This is going back to the theories.
Yeah.
But we had less stress because we were more agriculture. We had more food security. We didn't have to hunt and kill anything like you guys.
Yeah.
So we didn't need the stress.
Tyrannosaurus rexes.
Yeah. You had to hunt down and kill all the saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah.
So this is so we have a higher stress response.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
So A's are generally weaker.
Shitty. Yeah.
Tony's a no.
Is she?
Yep. If I had known, I would have chosen differently. But anyway. There you go. I reckon they should put it on the Tinder page. Because all you weak-ass A's with your disease-ridden bodies and your inability to handle any sort of stress without losing it.
I haven't got to the good parts of A's yet.
No, I don't want to know. No, okay, come on. Is there any more bad? Because, I mean, that's a heck of a lot of bad. I mean, I understand A's should be extinct. Actually, can we discriminate against people by their blood type? I think we've got proof that we
have today.
Yep.
Look, there are some positives because O's are at.
No, we're not talking about O's.
Yeah, I know, but we're comparing A's and O's.
I think this is apples and oranges, Steve.
Yeah, apples and oranges, literally. Look, there are some positives for A's.
Okay.
A's. I mean, we'll go to the positives.
They can marry people with no blood type.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to have a superiority complex or anything, but I mean, it's looking pretty good for me so far. All right, tell me about the positives for A's.
The positives for A's is that we tend to live slightly longer.
In misery.
Yes, in misery.
Yeah.
But we tend
it's good
to
for the O's because I'd rather die than be married to an A all my life.
It's weird because A blood types are more prone to be smokers.
Why?
Well, don't know. It's just 25% compared to other groups.
Is there no research on that? What have you got? Better receptors for it? Have you got a more addictive personality? I mean, more addictive. I don't know.
Well, this was only published in January 2022, and they did like surveys. So they surveyed blood types and smokers and all that sort of stuff.
Fascinating.
And we A's.
Did you ever smoke, Steve?
No, never.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
We have presented statistically significant greater preference for cholesterol intake and higher trend for smoking, and compared with the other groups. Whereas B's, anyway, we'll get to them later.
Wow!
But isn't that amazing?
It is. It is. A significant statistical difference by how much? Does it say?
Well, no, but it was P less than 0.05. So
accurate.
That's pretty accurate.
So A's like to smoke.
Yeah, we're attracted to smoking more.
Huh.
Why is that probably for the next study?
Yeah, that's interesting.
But isn't that interesting?
It is. All right, what else? Okay, so tell me some good things about A. Come on, I haven't heard any good news yet.
We live slightly longer.
That's it.
No,
so you've got all this crap, and and we live slightly longer. What, 2 months longer? Like 6 months longer?
Well,
2 years?
It depends. Like if there's a big epidemic coming out, we wouldn't be living longer.
No,
our immune system's shitty.
Okay.
I remember A's and the newer blood types like the A's and B's and the ABs are not as robust as the O's because the O's have been around longer. So I know I'm giving you the
give me props, man. I'm feeling really good. Okay, so anything more on A? So a quick overview with A.
Yeah,
is that we think they were the original like sort of blood group. They sort of come from that Middle Eastern sort of region.
Yep.
They're agricultural based, more farming.
Yep.
They don't tolerate meat as well, but
Correct.
they sort of, and we'll get into the diet specifics
later. Yeah, I haven't mentioned that.
But they've got autoimmune issues. They've got digestive issues as well too. But you live slightly longer.
Yeah,
that's crap. I wouldn't pick A if I had to. All right,
and we get wiped out by viruses.
And you get wiped out by viruses. Yeah. Okay, that's great. So AB.
Oh, AB is there's not a lot known about them. It's only about 3% of the population have AB.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very rare blood type.
So I'm sorry, Steve. You're the one telling me where to go. I've just gone A, B, and then I was going to go
That's right. We can jump around.
Like B and then O. But do you want to go alphabetically? Well, how would you like to go? Because we started on the A. So what do you want to go to next? Let's leave the best for last.
Oh, you want to leave the O's to last. O's are the most common blood type.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing at all.
But anyway, let's leave the O's for last.
All right. ABs are quite a unique. They're a fairly new genetic. Like you remember
how new?
Oh, only thousands of years. They've only discovered these ABs.
How do we know?
Well, DNA, the carbohydrate on chromosome 9, which is where your blood type is, denoted from, it's still, you can still measure them back from those times. So it only goes back to a certain level, and then you have to find preserved mummies, and you can tell their blood type and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, so it becomes a bit sketchy. A lot of this old research from thousands of years ago is sketchy and based on, some assumptions.
Sure.
Well, the facts are that the risk factors that I told you, they're facts.
Right.
There's no problem with that at all. The ABs are newer.
Yep.
And that they believe that's when the tribes, because the nomadic tribes, which are the Bs, and the As are the agriculturists, then they sort of merged and produced ABs.
Okay. So, all right. Okay, cool. So, what's the negatives about being an AB? It sounds similar to the A's.
It's a pretty good place to be. But yes, there are problems with diabetes.
So are you saying that effectively the AB is sort of like the result of the A's and the B's getting together?
Correct.
And the AB was created?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
So 97% either ended up as an A or a B, and then the other 3% was a sort of a merge.
Of our entire population, only about 3% are AB.
Right.
So they're quite a rare blood type.
Right. So how come there's not an AO? Or a BO? How come there's not BO, Steve?
Well, there is. Like my recessive gene could be an O. Oh. My dominant gene is an A. You know what I mean? Does everyone know about recessive and dominant genes? Probably not. It's a bit beyond the scope of what we're talking about, but there are recessive genes and there's dominant genes. Now, it's like you're an XY chromosome. Mm-hmm. So, but the Y determines your sex. Yep. So that's the dominant gene in the XY system.
Got you.
Women have to have two X to be a woman.
Yeah.
If they have a Y in there, they're a bloke.
Yep.
So that's sort of the Ys are the dominant genes. And that determines the sex of the mammal. Mm. So in this case, I could be an AO or an AA. Now, I know I'm an AO because my mum is an A, my dad is an O.
Right.
So I'm an A because it's the dominant one.
So you're a superior A to an AA. Is that true?
No, because you still express the
so it doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference.
So if you're an AO or an AA, there's no difference.
Doesn't matter that I've got an X chromosome. Unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay.
So B's bad. B.
So is there any more an AB? AB are just but how do they express? Do they work like similar to an A? Like they've got the crappy immune system.
They have got a crappy immune system, but not as bad as an A, just an A.
Oh,
they're not as bad.
Okay, so they're superior. So if we're ranking them on like an A through D, we've got like,
A's at the bottom.
Yeah, A's at the bottom. So AB is maybe like a C.
Yeah. Okay. It's right above it because the ABs.
I feel superior.
If you carry the B as well as an AB, you're more prone to Behçet's disease and also...
What's Behçet's disease?
Oh, it's an autoimmune disease.
More autoimmune issues, right?
Remember, they got AB as well. They got the crappy A.
Okay.
I always say that. It's like there's plenty of advantages, but we'll get to those. But you also...
people feel sorry for you.
Yeah. If you carry the B gene, A or B, you're more prone to Sjogren's syndrome, which is another autoimmune disease, like a rheumatic thing, and Mediterranean fever.
What's Mediterranean fever?
That's like another autoimmune attack on the body where you get hot and that. Yeah, it's terrible.
So
bad news.
All right, so on AB, we're still sticking with AB, so they've kind of got all that sort of stuff. Okay, what's the positives?
They can tolerate foods. I mean, we'll get to that later. They can eat a very wide range of foods.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. No. They just upset, just go for it. We'll get into that into the food part.
Yeah.
All right.
The other bad thing about them is they are associated with gastric cancers as well.
Right. Similar to the A.
Similar.
But not quite as bad.
Not as bad.
So most rarest blood type of all I know is AB negative.
Yes.
Of ABs, how many are positive, how many are negative, do you know?
It's like a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah, right. So AB negative is literally 1% of the population.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you might think, oh my God, where do I get my blood from? AB negatives can take anyone's blood.
Negative.
O negative, A negative, and B negative, and AB negative.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
It does.
They all have to be negative because the rhesus is negative. If you're an AB positive, you can get blood from anyone you want. On a desert island, if you're an AB positive, I'd give you my blood. And
anyone can. If you're an AB, you can get the universal taker.
You are a universal taker, AB positive. We better be specific.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so being an AB is not as bad as I thought because I thought, 1% of the population, that's all you can get blood from.
When we get to diets, you'll see they can tolerate a lot of different foods.
We'll get there in a minute. Bees.
Bees. Again, bees have some problems.
With what?
MS, particularly B positives, and I don't know why that is.
Okay.
diabetes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blood sugar control.
Maybe, yeah.
Huh.
Maybe because they're more nomadic. They're a more nomadic people.
Okay.
And so they,
And where do B comes from? Where do they come from?
well, that's another genetic sort of mutation.
Yeah.
They don't know where it exactly came from or where it exactly started.
Yep.
But they became more nomadic people and were able to tolerate more dairy foods, mainly out of Asia.
Asia.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Most Asians are B.
Mongolians and all that sort of, which, were quite nomadic as well too,
Chinese,
weren't they?
I think 80, I don't know where I read this, but 80% of Chinese are Bs. It's quite very high over there.
Right. And they love the dairy, right?
Well, they don't really, they
Shouldn't.
tolerate
I thought
it.
that they were high lactose intolerance.
Well, lactose is different to
Dairy.
a little bit because lactose is to do with the gut microbiome and acidophilus and all this sort of stuff that can digest the carbohydrates. The protein part of it is the bit that reacts with your blood.
Right.
Yeah. And
So bees we think are predominantly from the Asian region.
Correct, yeah.
And what sorts of, well, no, we'll get into food later.
Yeah.
So what are the negatives of being a bee? You just mentioned there.
yeah, autoimmune disease.
Autoimmune. Again? Holy cow.
They've got problems. They also have, they don't have a lot of problems, which is why they're quite long-lived like the A's. They don't have the A's have the shitty immune system now, but remember these days, and we're talking about today's figures, you can be treated with antibiotics and all this sort of stuff, which, a few years ago, 100 years ago, there were no antibiotics.
Yeah.
In fact, 100 years ago is when insulin became discovered. So if you were born with type 1 diabetes 100 years ago, you just die as a child.
Yep.
Terrible. So all these sort of, I'll call them flaws, are now being, we're coming up with hygiene. We know about protecting against infections.
So we're weakening the gene pool.
We are weakening gene pool, absolutely. Because natural selection, which is what you're talking about, was a good thing to get a species above everybody else. Remember, 95% of species that ever existed on Earth died out because of natural selection, or they didn't survive the asteroid or whatever catastrophe came along.
Yep.
So, that's the bees. And can we get on the O's now? I want to pick on the O's.
Well, I just want to hear the positives with the bees then.
Positive of the bees is that in the Western world, they can usually tolerate more dairy foods.
Right.
Which is, it's a positive because of...
Well, we're going to do it, and we've been asked for scary dairy too. So we've been asked for, so we're actually going to break that down a little bit more with some more research on dairy, the good, the bad, the ugly. And again, Steve, we sort of bit of a juxtaposition there and a little bit of pushback from me. So that's right.
That's right.
So in terms then of let's get to the cream of the crop. So you put B at maybe still a C. They don't sound fantastic.
No,
they're
not
good.
fantastic.
So O's are A's, really. I mean, they're the best, right? So O's are the cream of the crop. No, okay, seriously.
I'm gonna get hate mail
what's
over this.
What's the negatives with O's?
All right, the negative with O's...
They have to live with the other blood types
That's right.
and potentially intermingle with them.
Does
This sound like almost like apartheid almost.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It is. It's horrible.
All right, O blood group.
Yeah. What's the negatives?
All right, they are more prone to alcohol, caffeine, sugar, and, vitamin D consumption was higher in the blood O groups. So O's are more
Alcoholics.
Yeah,
we are. I think I am. Yeah. I absolutely. When I was younger, I drank too much, and I absolutely addicted to sugar. Absolutely. Yeah. No, definitely. Very addictive personality. Love that kind of stuff. Yep. Indulgence.
Bad, eh? So more prone to that. That's out of that paper that I mentioned earlier.
What else?
This sucks because there's only really one disease that they listed here that you're most prone to, and it's a rare one, Hashimoto's disease.
Wow. Which is to do with the thyroid, right?
Yeah. It's like that's it. One type of autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
They're more prone to
I'm
those.
getting T-shirt printed. Just letting you know.
Damn.
All right. Now, anything else?
Well, you got a lower risk of Crohn's and ulcerative colitis.
Yeah, good.
Because you guys have got a great digestive system. Because you ate anything. You guys just hunted and gathered while the refined A's sat at home and made the...
You know what? We used to come into your village, kick your stuff over and take your stuff, right?
You know who discovered the ABO blood system? A guy called, what's his name? Carl...
Sagan.
No.
No, who?
Carl Landsteiner.
Landsteiner.
Yeah, in 1901. He was Austrian.
Sounds Austrian.
Yes.
Or German. Okay.
But it's very interesting.
All right. So that's
Peter's
the press.
book.
Yeah, that's got the and where did O's come from?
Oh, they were the originals.
Straight from heaven. Yeah,
exactly.
Sorry,
that's right.
Yeah, we came down.
Adam and Eve were O's, were they?
Yeah, of course we were.
That's right.
No, actually, I think they were A's. I don't know. I have no. I mean, I don't know. I've never looked into that. I'm sure some theologians probably have, because I mean they talk about like biblical diets and that sort of stuff. But look, food's changed so much now with modern intervention, let alone as you say, just adaptation, right? So things changed. I mean, everything's changed. I mean, we didn't have Monsanto back then. We didn't have genetically modified foods. We didn't have any of that sort of stuff to contend with. Radio waves and xenoestrogens and all the sort of stuff that we deal with. And it's funny because I'm absolutely a purist at heart. I mean, I would love to not have all this radioactive soup. I shouldn't say radioactive, but radio waves that we're in, and all these chemicals. I mean, even the lights and everything, right? But we live in a modern world, and we just have to be mindful that we've got to deal with these things.
Exactly.
I mean, unless you want to go out and live in the bush.
No, like the O's used to.
Yeah.
The O's were refined and lived in houses and everything, but the O's were the hunters and gatherers that were just out in the...
I'll thump you with my spear in a minute. Yes.
All right. So we'll get on to Peter's book, which is the main sort of thing.
Is that the definitive book, Steve, or was it the first book?
It's the first one, and since then, because the theory became so popular.
What year was it published? Do you know?
1999.
1999.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was the original one, and everyone sort of went, wow.
Yep.
And so it's got some great information.
I used to hear a lot about it. Yeah. I mean, mind you, my real focus on health and nutrition really only started probably around about that sort of 2000 mark.
Yeah.
And I do remember, I mean, again, Steve, we've spoken about these crazy ass diets that are there, and a lot of them are rubbish, like the Pritikin diet, and the
Atkins and that.
Oh, Atkins diet. I mean, look, some of them I don't mind, and some of them,
some good points in sort of all of them, really.
Yeah. Anyway, so the blood type diet. I mean, how popular was it? Do you know, Steve?
Super popular. I mean, we actually invited Peter in 2001 to come to Australia.
Oh, you met him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really nice guy. Very understated. Very very conservative, but very quiet. Like he's not the sort of rah-rah guy that usually you associate with these diets. His father started a lot of work into researching blood types, and he took it over. So he was very, he's not like a Dean Ornish who's like, out there.
Ornish diet.
The Ornish diet.
Yeah.
And Nathan Pritikin was pretty out there, and Robert Atkins.
Bad diets, by the way. Terrible.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
The Pritikin diet, no way.
No. We could do a podcast on the Pritikin diet. He was. It was very unfortunate what happened to him. He died of cancers in his 50s.
Well, there you go.
It's about my age or something. Yeah. So he had a high carbohydrate diet, and as we know, carbohydrates and sugar's feed.
Not a fan.
Yeah, I think those diets are
proven to be wrong now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anybody. I haven't heard of Pritikin diet probably for anyone following that for maybe 25, 30 years.
No, the Dean Ornish diet was very popular because he came out with a study that showed that his diet reversed atherosclerosis. But what they didn't know was that along with the diet, they gave him all this exercise program.
Oh, jeez. I mean, if you're going to change things in isolation, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just crazy. Anyway, Steve-o.
Yeah.
So let's get down to this. So let me ask you a question point blank.
Yeah, okay.
Do you, on a scale of 1 to 10...
Yeah.
So let me premise this. 1 is absolutely no truth.
Yeah.
Or 10 being absolutely infallible.
Yeah.
Where would you put the blood type diet in terms of your understanding, your research, and your practical knowledge in seeing it? Would you say it's a 1, 5, 10, or somewhere in between?
I'd say about a 7. There's some truth in it.
Okay.
There is some truth in it.
That's a big one from you, Steve.
I've said 7, but, it's not a 10.
Right.
There's issues.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to quote a study here on heart factors for ABO blood type diet here.
Yep.
And they found, and this is where I think there's something in it.
Right.
And I'll explain why I think it's good, and then I'll explain why I don't think it's the right thing to do. What they did was they tested them, and they found adherence to the blood type diets is associated with favourable effects on some metabolic risk factors. Okay, so that was the conclusion of this particular study. And then they went on to say, but these improvements may not have been associated with the type of blood they had.
Right.
It was just the fact that they ate better foods. Because what you'll find on the list is you won't find McDonald's, you won't find... So if you were sticking to the blood type diet, you wouldn't go to Macca's.
And this is funny because, I mean, this is a lot of the time when you're talking with people about their personal trainers or their diet, is that any form of structure or rigor will bring improvement.
Of course.
Because obviously, as soon as you start being mindful, you've gone from being sporadic and reactionary and what have you to actually being mindful, concentrated. So you're maybe taking in less calories. You're maybe being more mindful of when you eat. I mean, as soon as you start doing something for your health, you might be going to bed a little bit earlier. You might be doing a little bit more walking, a little bit more exercise, you know, drinking a little bit more water, and all of these things. And some people might not actually understand. And this is where, as you've said before, sometimes it can get a little bit difficult to see the exact, you know, impact.
Yeah. And then you've got this other pool of evidence, and I'll call it, and this is what drags the number up a bit, is that you run into people like girl downstairs, I won't mention her name, but also I was in clinic then too, and I was seeing a lot of patients, and they would be on the blood type diet, and they'd just say, "Oh, it's helping me great. Arthritis is fixed better," blah 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 blah. So it would help them.
Placebo?
Maybe.
Well, see, this is the thing, Steve. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Matt beforehand, and he's like, "Yeah, you know, we are on the bandwagon."
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are some things that do seem to resonate.
Well, if you look at the food list that they tell you to eat, this is off Peter's website, you know, it's really like you know, for example, well, let's
start with ACE.
Oh, well, good.
What should ACE eat?
Okay.
And what should they avoid?
All right.
And can you pull out any specific examples, whether it be anecdotal, whether it be in your clinic, Steve, whether it be things that you know are true?
Yeah.
That you can actually help. So an A listening to that, I feel sorry for all you A's out there. Poor you, Steve.
Yeah, I know.
I know you wish you were me.
Yeah, I know.
But you can't be. But what should A's do?
All right. A's should avoid all meats, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
Except
And
for
this is no. You can have fish, quite a number of fish, but you should avoid. I should say,
avoid
the
red
red
meat.
meats.
What about pork?
No, pork's bad.
Pork's bad.
Yeah, pork's a bad one. Now, you got to remember that, let's say that you just pick the poultry and the meat section here of the blood A type, and you're
So
cutting...
no chicken as well?
A chicken's okay. Chicken and turkey, the only two
Chicken and
white meats are okay.
Yeah, and fish, obviously.
And they're called
Everyone should eat
loads of
fish, right? Fish is good.
Yeah.
Everyone should eat fish.
All sorts of fish, except there's some fish you should need to avoid if
Mullet.
you're an A. Mullet, mullet's okay.
Swordfish.
Swordfish, yeah, you got to avoid swordfish.
Yeah.
But like, you know,
Too much heavy
it
metals.
encourages you to eat more salmon, groper, cod, carp, mackerel. So there's some quite healthy fish there, and they're called highly beneficials.
Right, sardines?
Sardines.
Who eats sardines these
Sardines are highly beneficial.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have those nice, oily, healthy fish, you're going to be better for your heart. Now, the reason why, just going back to the meats and that, you've got to avoid bacon and pork and all this sort of stuff, ham and all that sort of stuff.
Shoot me now.
Now, remember that we mentioned earlier that A's are more prone to gastric cancers?
Yes.
Now, those meats nowadays...
Oh, of course. They take a lot of digestion, right? And high in sulfates.
And nitrates.
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 So,
and sulfates for preserving.
Yeah.
So if we're prone to gastric cancers and we avoid those, that's a benefit.
Okay, so question for you.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to break this down as we go.
Yeah.
If you're an A and you love your bacon, and let's face it, almost everybody, unless you're vegan, loves bacon,
Yeah.
should you then take something like papain? Should you take pork, pineapple? I used to have a friend of mine, and he used to have a relatively weak digestive system. And he used to take quite a lot of pineapple.
Yeah.
He would cut up fresh pineapple,
Yeah.
and he'd take a little bit, and he'd have it after, I think he had it after his meals, I think.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea or not a good idea?
Great idea, because there's two anti-cancer agents in there. There's vitamin C, and there's also bromelain, which helps digest protein.
Yeah.
So if you're an A,
And there's also naringenin in pineapple, which is very good for you too, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Naringenin's good, except unless you're on medications, it can be problematic.
Yeah, but it is naringenin in pineapple, isn't it?
And it is in pineapple,
Grapefruit.
but it's also in grapefruit.
Yeah.
Is in much higher amounts. In fact, there's warnings now. If you're prescribed propranolol for your blood pressure, we'll just say beta blockers. I don't know what.
If I was an A blood type and I had the problem, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, A's have. I think we have more heart problems.
Yeah. No, not surprisingly.
Yeah, hardly surprising. It's pretty crap.
Yeah, go on.
So let's say that you're let's say that you're having a lot of grapefruit and you're on propanol, which is an antihypertensive. It's detoxified down the 3A4 pathway, cytochrome P450, 3A4. Nonagenin slows that down. Not a problem if you're not on drugs. But if you're on drugs like that one, you get a massive buildup of propanol in your blood and your blood pressure drops.
Yeah, not good.
So you can get dizzy, fall over, crack your head, car accidents. It's very problematic.
Very bad. Okay.
And in fact, I think they have a warning on them.
So coming back to the ACE,
Yes.
you can do things to help, but let's say if you're not, let's say there's no crutches, no pineapple, no pawpaw, none of that sort of stuff. What should your diet look like?
It should look like a fairly vegetarian-y style diet. We're more adapt to being more vegetarian, but we can have some proteins like fish and white meats.
Chicken and turkey.
Yeah, keep it simple like that.
Okay.
We have to avoid all the organ meats, all the porks, all
Really?
the venison, the rabbits, that sort of stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do you know that my great aunt died from eating rabbit?
Really?
Yeah, she died. Yeah, killed her.
How did she die from eating?
Don't know, some sort of food poisoning. I don't know
Was it
exactly what happened.
myxomatosis they put in rabbits, was it? That's usually harmless for humans.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. This is back in the early 1900s.
Wow.
So my great aunt, yeah. My dad was born in 1923, so it's just weird.
Okay.
Yeah, 100 years ago next year.
Wow. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Anyway.
Okay. So A's, we typically have seafood and white meat.
Yep.
Not a lot
That's
of it.
good. Okay, not a lot.
Not a lot.
Okay, so how do you get your protein?
Well, we don't need as much as the AOs.
Because you're sitting on the couch being fat and lazy.
Well, we're actually, and it gets into another part of this, which is the exercises you're supposed to do. We're not supposed to do as much intense exercise as the O's.
That's Tony's problem, eh? She smashes herself in the gym and it just absolutely destroys her adrenals.
Exactly.
It washes her out.
Well,
and she's pissed off.
Our cortisols are crappy anyway. You see how it's all starting to make...
You guys are weak. You are. I'm sorry. You're weak.
The only problem is O's require more higher exercise. You might think that's a good thing, right? But what if you're like 66% of the population in Australia that don't exercise enough? It's a benefit being an A, isn't it?
It is.
So you can see there's a... and you see how
there's always a piper to pay somewhere.
It is.
As they say.
But you can see how
get that on a T-shirt.
Can you see why I've ranked this as a 7? There's something in this.
Yeah, there is.
But there's not like... It's
not definitive.
Not definitive. And Peter himself at the talk, and I remember it distinctly, it was in Sheraton, the Gold Coast, he said, look, these food guides are only guides. If you go... And he used the analogy of a traffic light. Now, if you're going up to a traffic light and it says red, you stop usually. But what if there's a policeman or a policewoman there saying, come on, come through, you're right to go through.
Yeah.
You believe the police person.
Yeah.
So the police person is someone like me who's a nutritionist, says, yes, it's okay for you to eat A, B, C, D.
Yep.
Ignore this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like going to the doctor and the doctor says, I checked with the doctor. It's like, yeah.
All of our advice is, Steve, and I really actually appreciate professionals that say, look, there's something interesting here. There's something to it. We've observed some positive impacts and some things potentially to avoid where we've seen known, issues.
Yeah.
But it's a guide, not a must do.
Correct.
And you're right. Professionals, personal trainers, dietitians, nutritionists, exercise physiologists, physios, people who are and good ones. I mean, there's crap everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But, quality ones, they're the people that you can obviously talk to and listen to. But this is food for thought, dare I say, pun. But it's really cool. All right. So, Steve, that's an A.
That's an A.
Anything else with regards to A around diet? Anything that you want to pull out? Anything interesting?
Basically, they can have more of a vegetarian-y style, agriculturally style
diet.
Even, dare I say it, there are even a few grains that are actually okay for us to eat, which is...
You wouldn't do it?
Forget O's. No, because personally, again, going on what I think for me, I don't tolerate too well with them because they just, I'd rather eat vegetables than flour. And that's just me.
And this is why I should have married a freaking O. Because of our diet. Like I say to Tony, I'm like, hey, I want to go keto again. I love it. I love keto. Dave, if you're listening, Dave Palumbo, I love Dave. Dave's a great guy. He created a cyclical diet where he'd incorporate fruits and stuff like that. After you get into ketosis, I should say. He would then introduce a day where you no fat, and you typically eat a lot of fibrous vegetables and fruits and that sort of stuff. Now, we do that. Tony's tried ketogenic diet. Guess what happens to her?
not too well.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Brain fog, feels horrible, no energy. Man, I tell you what, if you're young and you're saying, no, I'm kidding, but you should congregate with your own people.
Yeah.
Can you say that? Can you?
I don't know. Is that
discriminatory? I mean, I'm not talking about skin color. I'm talking about blood type.
Oh, dear.
All right.
You want to go to O's?
No, I want to save them for last.
Oh, okay.
I want to go to ABs. Is there much difference?
Their ABs are I printed
They're
them
like
out.
a slightly upgraded version of an A.
but also they can incorporate all the foods. So
you said that.
Yeah, I didn't even print them out because it's like
literally they can eat everything.
There's no pattern here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those lucky 3% of the population, if you're an AB, you just eat whatever you kind of feel like, and you're going to be okay.
It is. It means there's no antigens. Now we've also got to go back. The biggest criticism of eating for your blood type is that when you have like these things in food called lectins, okay?
Yeah.
Now, when you put a lectin in a petri dish with some blood, it'll either stick it together or not, okay? And if it doesn't, the food was thought to be okay to digest for that blood type.
Okay.
But it doesn't work like
you got
that.
Stomach acids and you got polymorphisms happening and all that, right, Steve?
All sorts of things going on. So you've got to actually look at the bigger picture and see what reacts with you personally.
Yeah.
You could have some, let's just take strawberries. People have terrible allergies to strawberries. You can die. But if it's okay for your blood type, peanut. Like A's are supposed to have, we can eat lots of peanuts and legumes.
You left that out.
Oh, there's so much of the diet. It goes on for pages.
Okay.
But
so nuts are good. I mean, I'm looking at typically
phase.
sources of protein, right?
Yeah,
because I mean, again, if you cut out bacon, red meat, pork, and a lot of that, like that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now you've got to find other additional sources of protein. As you're saying, you might not need as much, but I mean, nuts are a good source of protein.
And peanuts specifically are very good, highly beneficial for A's.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, enough of A's. So ABs are pretty much for everything. Is there anything they should not eat? ABs?
No, they
nothing.
It's sort of like the list was like I was going to bring it out, but it's like it's all just everything they can tolerate because they're the more modern humans. They're more adapted to the modern society. You guys are left behind in ancient history. Hunting and go.
Don't take a swipe just because we're at the top of the poll. So okay then. All right. Enough about ABs, and they're only 3% of the population. So who gives a frick about them anyway? So bees then. What can bees eat? From there. So you said dairy.
They can,
but what about lactose?
They depending on their microbiome, which changes daily.
Right.
So you got to be careful.
I always heard, and again, Steve, I don't know, and please, if for people listening to this, and I'm joking around, we should segregate to our blood type, kind of not really, but the thing is though, is that with the Asian population, I heard that a high amount of the Asian population, a higher lactose intolerance than Caucasians.
Correct.
And Africans.
Exactly, because you can train your body to have lactose. I won't say dairy, because there's lots of other things in dairy. It's not just a lactose thing.
Right.
But lactose isn't, we're all born with the ability to digest lactose. In fact, one of the highest lactose milk is human breast milk.
Right.
So we can digest that no problem as a kid.
But that's again designed to feed firmicutes, typically to put on rapid weight gain, right?
Yeah, and it provide calories.
Yeah.
And you got no teeth at that stage, so you're not going to rot your teeth with sugar.
No.
That's why when babies develop teeth, you've got to be careful about breastfeeding because it's quite high, the sugar.
Oh, I thought you meant because they're going to bite your nipple.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to talk about that.
Oh.
So there is that too.
Yeah. It's that mummy booby thing that I don't like, like that's just wrong. Anyway, I heard mums going to schools and feeding their 5-year-olds, right?
Well, yeah, that can cause tooth problems, even if you express and.
Look, I don't mind long feeders. I mean, people that feed for a longer time because, milk and blah, blah, blah. But you're right, Steve. I think there's a natural weaning process that occurs. Both of our boys, they only got to around about, I think, 6 to 7 months, which I wanted them to go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I think in terms of teeth, that's something I didn't think about.
They usually go what they call a rule of sevens with teeth. which is 7 months they get teeth, and 7 years they replace their baby teeth. That's the rule of thumb that we're taught, It's sort of like sevens, rules of sevens. Sevens is funny with humans. Menopause 14, 21 key to the door.
Yeah, I know. And apparently every cell regeneration, every 7 years we're made new. All right, so what else then in terms of...
Think of the bees as the nomads. Now, when we talk about dairy, people think of dairy cows and you're sucking the udders. I'm not doing anything else. I'm sucking udders, okay? When you're getting the milk out of that and then you process it, these guys used to have their goat herdings and all that sort of stuff, and they would have fresh milk out of that. So very, very different to today's dairy. But the bees can tolerate a little bit more of that sort of dairy.
Okay.
Than so not the Coles or Woolies milk that you sit there today.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
The blood and the pus and the mastitis that they get. Yep. And I know, and we've sort of spoken about that before, and we're going to readdress that again, looking at, and because I grew up on a farm, we're talking about, fresh cow's milk with all the stuff in the gut that the cows got.
They got acidophilus in the milk.
Yeah, but what's the stuff? Retinol.
I know. Retinol, vitamin A. I don't know.
You mentioned
rennet. Rennet's in the gut of the cow.
Yeah. So I mean, like there's stuff there that we've got to look at. So take into consideration. But we'll get into that another time. Yeah. So therefore, if you're a bee, how are they with processing meat?
Are good. They're good with like pork. Well, they're not great with pork because the pork has been considered an avoid by Peter. And when I asked him about it, I said, why are they all avoided? It's like, because pork these days is blah, 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 blah. Oh. But, it's been processed and it's got nitrates and all that.
Big time nitrates, right? And pork and bacon.
Exactly. So he's put it on the avoid list.
But if you got a natural pig,
you'd be fine especially if you're a bee.
Right.
Goat, venison,
goat. Greek people like goat, right? Like the goat's big in that sort of area.
Well, if you're herding goats and you're short of food, you just lop one and you can eat it.
Just lop a goat.
Well, this is going back years.
Yeah.
You would just knock it over.
I know.
Or a sheep or whatever.
Yeah.
They're great with sheep, great with even mutton, the bees.
Yeah.
They can have rabbits. Remember, they're on the move.
Yeah.
They're agricultural movers.
So they're good with red meat. They're good with bacon. They're good with all that sort of stuff.
If it's not preservative,
Sure. But if we're just getting back to sort of nature knows best. I mean, again, I think most people should probably avoid too many nitrates and stuff like that. So, sulfates and what have you. And it's the sulfates, right? Like, through the roof and that preserve, sort of stuff. All right. So what should they not eat then? The bees, did you say?
Bees shouldn't have grains.
Grains.
It's really bad for grains.
Really?
Almost as bad as the O's with grains.
Okay. That's interesting.
Bad. Yeah, because
anyone in particular that you should really watch out for, we're talking wheat.
Wheat's the worst one because it's got a very rich form of gluten in it, like a lot of gluten.
And gluten creates zonulins.
Zonulins are little particles that cause like a BB gun and rip your gut open. So you can actually get porous gut from that.
Ooh. So you got leaky gut syndrome effectively.
It's funny because when I was, even just a few years ago, there was this whole thing about, leaky gut doesn't exist. It's a weird naturopathic disease. It's like, no, this is published in the literature. And I think
who said that?
There's people online.
They're leaky gut deniers.
Yeah, leaky gut.
I like this now. These people are election deniers. It's like, no, there was an election. I think everybody knows there was an election. Yeah. They're climate deniers. No,
there's a climate.
Summer. There's a climate. Yeah, I like it.
That's funny.
It's a trigger word.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
It's like you're a weird. In our next podcast, I'm going to be talking about that I'm a something denier, which will be very interesting. You'd ask me about that in the next podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're a denier.
I'm a denier for a treatment. Talking a bit later, I'm not a fan of. I'll make it politically correct.
All right, we'll do that in the next podcast. Yeah. So come back next week. You got to come back and hear Steve be controversial about being a denier. Stone him. Burn him at the stake.
I'm just not a fan of this thing that anyway, but that's for the next podcast.
There's lots of things I'm not a fan of, but yeah, anyway. All right.
We up to O's yet?
We're up to O's. So
this makes me jealous. I kind of wish I was an O for a few reasons.
Because we can eat bacon and thrive, can't we?
Well, not bacon because he's avoided bacon.
Screw that with the nitrates and the sulfates. But I mean, if I found a pig out there and I wanted to just eat the pig.
Yeah, you can eat the pig, but you can also eat beef, buffalo, heart, lamb, liver, mutton, veal, and venison. They're highly beneficial.
My family is Scottish, and I remember eating haggis at a very young age, and I loved it until I found out what it was, and then I was disgusted. Yeah. But I did like it. I mean, I used to eat steak and kidney pie growing up in New Zealand. It was kind of a staple. Now, the idea of it absolutely terrifies me, which is funny, right? Because naturally, if I didn't know what it was and I was just fed it, I'd eat it.
Yeah.
But now, like, you know, Tony's like, that is disgusting. I'm like, I didn't even think about it. I actually used to, Dad, say, would you like a steak pie or steak and kidney? Or steak and kidney, please, Dad. Like, I loved it.
It's got a strong flavour that you either love or hate.
I loved it.
Australians are terrible.
But now, because I've trained myself out of eating it, I haven't eaten any offal for ages, and that's probably bad. Like when we did the podcast with the
meat only diet.
No. When we're over Ben Greenfield, he's great. Like Ben's great. If you haven't checked out his podcast, go and listen to Ben as well too. Good friends of the podcast. He goes hunting. He's a real awesome dude. He's sort of, you know, what I'd like to be, but I live in an office. Yeah. But like he goes out and hunts with the bow, and he's like takes down deer, and then he eats, as he says, from nose to tail. Yeah. And he'll eat everything, and like nothing is wasted. I mean, and again, that's awesome. I mean, I love that, right? And it's funny because, you know, like Western civilization has bastardized so much, and like, you know, even what they've done with wheat. I mean, with dwarf wheat, was it dwarf wheat? I forget. And the processing and removing this, you know, nothing's whole meal ground anymore, and everything's dead, and everything's GMO, and everything's sprayed with chemicals and pesticides and herbicides, and even with meat now, they're taken to abattoirs where their fear levels are through the roof, and when they kill the cortisols in the meat, and you know, they're fed all sorts of hormones and injected, and like we're just so far away from where we used to be. Now, I appreciate modern man and civilization. Food was an energy of the two things that effectively pushed us forward, and we had to find ways of doing things. But as humans, I think a lot of these disease states that we've got now come from our food processing. And look, we live in the real world, so we can't be perfect. But when you can get those breaks to eat fresh, local nutrients, local farm co-ops and that sort of stuff, if possible, even a little bit of that can go a long way, I think, to restoring health and helping with the natural balance, if you like, Steve.
It is, and the O's are naturally hunters and gatherers. Yeah. So it's intense exercise. Yeah. It's a high protein diet. Yeah. Low carbohydrate diet. This is what they thrive on typically.
Absolutely.
So you can see that whenever I talk to people about all this, and you know, people go, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like it's sort of like." There's something in this. It's like
you saw my photos from when I was really fit, right? Which I like to show everybody every chance I possibly get.
Yeah,
but no, when I was I
posted online.
Absolutely.
You in your underwear?
Yeah, that was for me, but then it sort of kind of got out there when I shared it. but I think in terms of obviously it's nice. It to the internet. It's nice being fit and it's nice being healthy. Now that was obviously following Dave Palumbo's diet, and I thrived on it. Yeah. So, I mean, I was using a lot of, but I changed a lot. I mean, I'd have bacon, great. Sure. But I didn't make it like an Atkins diet where it was high amounts of butter, high amounts of bacon. Actually, I did have quite a bit of butter, but what I did is I used things like coconut milk and MCTs. I used a huge amount of avocado, and I used a lot of nuts, like a lot of nuts. So then I was having like protein. Again, I was using, was I using collagen? I don't think I was.
Right.
Back then, I think I was still using dairy, which would make me very sinusy. So a couple of things I noticed myself personally and some areas of weakness. Now, this is me.
Yeah.
I do feel better when I'm not drinking coffee, but I'm always attracted to it. Now, Tony has to have coffee every morning. Yeah. Now, she's an A, and I think they thrive on coffee.
They do.
And I think O's should not drink coffee.
Coffee stimulates stomach acid.
Right.
And our stomach acid's shit. So we need more stomach acid.
What about an O on coffee?
They're more attracted to it.
Yeah, I am.
It's not necessary. Is
it bad for me?
Not bad. No, not bad.
Good.
It's neutral, they call it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
well, that's good because I was under the impression because of cortisol issues, which I kind of do suffer with a little bit.
If you do suffer with that, then they say to avoid it. You got to avoid regular decaf. The only things you should be having of the drinks is like club soda and bubbly water.
What did you say?
Club soda.
I should not have it.
Should.
I do.
It's highly beneficial.
I drink huge amounts of bubbly water. Yeah. Like we've got a soda stream at home.
You make you feel good?
Does.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I drink it.
It's highly beneficial.
I virtually can't drink still water. I know that sounds terrible, but I'm always, because I'm trying to consume as much carbon dioxide as possible. I can't take in all the carbon, Steve. It comes out. It slips
comes out.
I don't mean
out.
to.
Can I tell you that I'll list off all the grains and pastas that are beneficial for you, right?
Zero. I know that. You know what? I actually know that. And this is where I do believe from personal experience, when I get off all grains, like, I tell you what, one of my favorite treats used to be sourdough bread with some butter and some fresh honey. Love it. Like Elizabeth's honey. She's got bees. Have you had her honey?
Yeah, I have. It's beautiful.
It is the best.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad after I eat it.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of these people that say, like pasta, gluten, don't like it. I mean, I just don't.
See, so just taking the pasta thing out of it, which is pretty bad for it because it's very refined. It's got no nutrients in it. A's can tolerate a bit of it, but think if you just cut pasta out of your diet or any flour, like refined flour out of your diet, you're going to be better off. You can have rice because it's neutral for you.
Yeah, I like typically basmati and or jasmine.
Yeah, any rice is a neutral for you.
And what's the other stuff they put in rice? Saffronol, right? Saffron rice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good for other things.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but
yeah, I don't mind rice. And in fact, I will eat rice. But yeah, but obviously if I'm going to go ketogenic, I won't do that. But man, I tell you what, I felt amazing ketogenic. All right, alcohol. That is.
Oh, alcohol.
Now I've got alcoholics run in my family, and then they fall over and hurt themselves. But no, we do. I've got a lot of alcoholics in my family. I was going down that pathway when I was younger. I used to live for drinking, but I have a feeling it's really bad.
It is really bad, and that's why he says, look, only have the occasional beer,
red wine.
That's considered neutral,
beer.
Red or white wine. Yeah, but you got to remember this is neutral, so it's just sparingly eating.
Right. No, so when I was on the ketogenic diet, what I would train myself to do is nothing else, a little bit of red wine, maybe a little bit more if I was going out.
All liquor and all that sort of stuff. That's
Mate, I tell you what, I got some Bucano one time. Beautiful bourbon, like whiskey.
Yeah.
Holy cow, did it smash my stomach acids. Like, honestly, I was getting reflux. It was horrible.
We've already got loads of acid there.
Yeah.
As an O.
So is that what was happening?
Yeah, and you got protective acid there, which is good. I'm not saying it's a bad thing because you can eat lots of meat and digest it because meat requires acid. So, that's why the O's typically need a good protein diet. Now, you could have some acid problem or something, and it could be a problem. But typically, O's have got vastly more acid, which means they can tolerate more, high, rich, fatty foods.
So they could, I mean, again, if you were going to sort of break it down, it would be really interesting from our listeners if you could write in. If you're on a ketogenic-based diet and you're an A, I would love to hear from you because my wife thinks it's impossible. Yeah. And look, again, that could be to her own circumstance. The other thing I'd like to hear from is Tony is an A-type personality and she's got A blood type, which I think is and that's the problem, right? Whereas I'm a phlegmatic, easygoing, super nice, funny guy.
This is not Tinder,
isn't it? Damn it! Oh, I'm just looking for an O blood type girl who's looking for long walks on the beach. No, I'm kidding. Tony, I'm kidding. I'm happily married. Well, maybe not happy, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Oh my gosh, I can't stop joking. I'm going to get a needle in the ear when I get home.
Joking is the emphasis.
But in all seriousness, I would like to know if people are an A blood type diet who are
doing keto.
You could. You could if you're using fish and other stuff. But what happens because most of the time if you're on keto, what's the first thing you're reaching for? Bacon.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
High fatty red meats. It just kind of goes hand in hand, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, the Atkins diet is a classic keto diet. Well, there's 4 phases of the Atkins diet, and it's like your mate's one, but a little bit different, where you go on a strict diet for couple of weeks. And
well, you get those sticks, and you wait till it turns purple. Mate, it was like its own reward every day. I'd be like, yes, it's a deep purple. Great, the ketones are building up to the point where my kidneys are going to shut down.
Wow.
But you know what I mean?
It won't go that high.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, again, the more purple it was, the better it was. And that's when I used to be able to have the red wine and go, it didn't knock me out of ketosis, which was a bit of a trick, right? Now, again, I was burning no body fat at that point in time, and of course, then you had to adjust for your testosterone levels were not great. I mean, it was an indulgent treat that didn't knock me out of ketosis, so it was okay. And again, a little bit of red wine from time to time, as we say, as in the last podcast, is okay. But anyway, probably a bit of overindulgence there as well.
And so you can see there's some elements of truth in this, but then when there was a big test done in 2013. Where they looked at this and it didn't show any benefit at all for the blood type diet.
Okay.
Now, there's a big write-up on Peter's website. They're going to look and say why it's a problem and why it wasn't sound and all this sort of stuff. But, if we're going
with your opinion, you're unbiased.
Yeah.
And again, you've already sort of declared your interest here that you're giving it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
What did you think of this study after you
There
read
were
it?
flaws in it.
Right.
There were flaws in it because you've got to remember that people say, okay, I want you to follow this diet. This is a printout for the O's.
Sure, very rigid.
Yeah.
Boom. No personal adaptation.
Yeah. Now what we know from that is they felt better. They felt better.
Okay.
But did it improve them or not? It's like they couldn't find any significant improvements.
Improvement how, though? I mean, if mental cognition improves, if you feel better, lighter, less bloated, I mean, like these are all considerations for lifestyle you should look at.
They only measure one aspect, like in this one.
Don't tell me body weight.
Well, it could be. Yeah, that'd be one.
What about cholesterol?
Yeah.
What about energy levels?
There's all these other factors, and even the nebulous factor is I seem to feel better eating like this. That's not very scientific.
No, but it's good enough for me.
Exactly, and that's why it's not a 5; it's a 7 because you hear this anecdotal stuff, and look, even if it just gets people off Maccas and junk food and all this, and they're going, I'm only going to eat this, and I'm only going to beat the beneficial neutral, you're going to be eating very well.
Do they call Maccas in the United States?
Don't know.
I don't reckon they do. I reckon they call it Mickey D's.
Oh, Mickey D's?
I think that's the American, terminology for it, whereas we call it Macca's, right?
Don't know.
Just thinking Australian for a second.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that.
Yeah. So if I gave this is the O blood type list, and if I gave that to you and I said just eat the beneficial,
does this say spices?
Yeah.
You didn't even touch on spices, Steve.
Oh, there's herbal teas. There's list galore.
Well, who's that for?
This is for O's.
Do you
want some beneficial?
Yeah.
How do you go on?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon's. That's down. And where is cinnamon?
I love cinnamon.
That's on the avoid list for you.
Bugger off. It is not.
It is. It's on the avoid list for you. Sorry.
Would you know why?
I'm just trying to think why that would be. It does stimulate stomach acid. It's a good spice for that.
Okay.
It could be that. But again, if your stomach acid's fine and you're not getting any, GERD or any of that sort of stuff, you're fine. Turmeric is very good for you.
Well, that's stress, right? I mean, again, O's do tend to have an issue with stress.
Kelp is very good for you.
Thyroid?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're prone to thyroid disease, Hashimoto's.
Yeah. Well,
carob is good for you.
Oh.
Yeah. But there's a whole heap of neutrals.
I don't mind carob.
Whole heap of neutrals. There's some other bad spices here that would interest you. I don't know why vanilla is a bad one, but
I love vanilla.
Yeah, sorry.
Isn't it funny? I'm attracted to the things that are bad for me, Steve.
Possibly because it's a sweeter.
Maybe that's why I married Tony.
Yeah. I don't know. But like apple cider vinegar, which you'd say is good for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a bad one for you.
Yeah, I don't like apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
I've never really been attracted to it.
Yeah. It's just sort of like.
What about for A's? Give me some herbs. Give me some spices for A.
Oh, well, I threw that bit of paper away in dramatic
Disgust.
Well, yeah. Okay.
You know what? You can't help being an A.
I know.
Spices for A's.
Spices for A's. Beneficial ones are like garlic, ginger, miso, soy sauce, and tamari.
Yeah.
Soy is a beneficial.
Tony's actually attracted to all those things.
Really?
Like, yeah, she loves miso. She loves, naturally. It's funny, right?
All right. You want some bad ones?
Yeah.
Avoid for A spices is capers, black pepper, cayenne, peppercorn, red flakes, white vinegar, apple cider, balsamic vinegar, red wine, and wintergreen.
Red wine?
Yeah.
Is a spice?
Well, it's in the spices column. I don't know why that is. Should be in the miscellaneous.
Tony avoids all those things.
Yeah.
It's funny, if she can't drink red wine either.
Yeah, it's an avoid.
Do you know the only thing, and Tony hardly drinks alcohol at all.
Yeah.
I can't ply her with liquor. It's quite disappointing.
Damn.
But if she does, she'll drink a cider.
Yeah.
An apple cider. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's good for us in herbal teas is things like echinacea. Can you see what?
Because your immune system's crap.
Shit. Yeah. But also we require things like milk thistle, which is good for our liver and digestive system. So you can see that. Also, we can be type stressy, so valerian tea is a beneficial one. So you can see how
drug you guys out.
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
take this, sweetheart. Relax.
And why would you think? Now you know about A's and B's, and why do you think ginger would be beneficial for us?
For your gut, for your digestion.
So you can see where all this comes together, and you see why there's.
All right, what about B's? Really quickly, because we can't leave them out. And who cares about ABs? Because
I didn't print out the whole B's
thing. The small percentage of the population.
But the B's are with herbal stuff was very, very there was no patterns in that. Yeah. They had more adaptogens, like they had the ginsengs were beneficial for them and that sort of thing.
I should have asked you this at the beginning, but can you give me a breakdown? We know that ABs are about 3% of the population. What are A's, B's, and O's? Do you know?
Yeah, B's are about 10%.
Oh.
A's are about 30, and O's are about 50. Huh? It's a pretty, like O's are way up there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's a pretty interesting split. It's about 50, 30, 15, and say 3 to 5.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
So it's an interesting split. So
that was interesting, Steve. I mean, and the funny thing is, it's made me just think a little about my food going forward as well too. So, for example, in the morning, the old adage was when I was training a lot more was oats and protein, right? With then some fruit. Yeah. Now, recently I've found an almond meal porridge, which is really cool because it's high in protein, high in fats, no wheat, no carbohydrates, really, no grains, I should say.
Yep.
And I think this is the thing. If you're looking at your macros, you can still find carbohydrates and all the rest of it. But I definitely thrive on a low carbohydrate style diet. I feel better on fats and obviously proteins.
Exactly what this is saying.
That's it.
It's very interesting.
It's interesting.
The O's aren't the great nut eaters like the A's.
The great what? Nut eaters?
Nut eaters. Yeah.
So A's are big nut eaters.
Yeah, we are.
It doesn't surprise me.
But there are two nuts that are beneficial for the O's, and that's pumpkin seeds and walnuts.
I was going to say walnuts. Walnuts, definitely. Pumpkin seeds, and also good for your prostate, right?
Yeah, very good for your prostate.
And pumpkin seeds good in zinc. Lots of zinc.
Lots of zinc. So,
anything else for any of the diets, Steve, that is fascinating, interesting, just a bit quirky, a bit weird? Anything, or have we covered it?
You pretty much covered it. It really, the A's and the O's are at the other end, the extreme, and the A, B's and the B's fit in the middle there somewhere. So, the O's are the extreme hunter and gatherers. So when it comes quickly with exercise, O's should be doing high intensity,
smash it out
exercise.
Yeah.
The A's might be the more plodding, swimming runners.
Tony's going to hate that.
I know.
Because you combine an A-type personality, someone who is just like grab it by the scruff of the neck. Yeah. She is so frustrated. Like she's done a shoulder training and like she's got all these genetic weaknesses, and I'm just like, darling, it's all right. But no, she is. She's frustrated because she's an A-type personality. Yeah. She's one of the most like driven, like determined people. And then she tries to do these things, and then, like I say to her, "You think you can do these things, Nemo, but you can't." She just gets frustrated because she just tries to go somewhere, and her body just doesn't respond.
Yeah, she's highly intelligent too, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in front of you. But
she's the hardest working person I've ever met. Like the amount of work that she gets through is ridiculous, right? But that's it's like that flower sniffing competition. Slow down and smell the flowers, and like you and I, Steve, we're like, oh yeah, let's just relax. And she's like, do I win?
It's like next flower.
Yeah,
So it's very interesting, but there is something. There's differences between our blood types. Does it relate to diet? Yes, no, maybe. It would depend on the individual greatly, but there's something there because we're more prone to say just pick one thing: gastric cancers. Therefore, we don't want too many cooked meats.
Sure, you
guys are more resistant to that. So there's there's all these sort of parts of evidence in that, but. Does this work? As I said, when I was speaking to people, it would benefit them. Yeah. Well, what could I say? No, there's no evidence for that. That's not working for you. You can't say that.
We always say that. One size does not fit all. This is a general guide. This might be a few light bulbs might be going off for people when they're listening to this going, actually, that does seem to fit. Actually, that is right.
But jump on a Facebook forum for any disease and you'll say, oh, this works there. Oh, that didn't work for me at all.
Yeah.
This cured me, but it didn't.
Same with herbs. Same with medicine, Steve. We know that there's a certain percentage of non-responders. There's certain people that don't fit inside the mold.
Yeah.
There's what do they call the law of averages and sort of like the mean. Some people fall on one side, some people fall on the other. Some like with tasting, it's funny because we're tasting some of the bars the other day. Tony's a super taster. Well, what a surprise! I win at tasting. Like she can taste notes and nuances and all the rest of it. We've got a couple. Chantel, I think, was one. There's another one as well too. I think I'm right up there, probably not to the level that they are. And we're tasting the birthday cake flavored bars the other day.
Yum.
And a friend, mate, you've got to taste them, like because starts off chocolate, then a vanilla note, then ends with a strawberry cream sort of note at the end. So I gave them to my mate. He's I can't wait for him. He rings me up. His name's Nathan. He goes, Jeff, And I said, yeah. And he goes, mate, how'd you go with the bars? He goes, yeah, mate, they're good. You can't taste any difference between that and the chocolate. I just about wanted to go and freaking slap him. But he's massively hard of tasting.
Yeah.
Right? Like you got some people, it's just like, nah, unsophisticated palate, I like to call it.
But
that's and then you got other people on the other end that can literally, oh yes, this has got this and a hint of this and a tiny speck of, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wow, how do you even know? It's like people that can see, they can people that can smell, they can tell the notes. Other people are like, can't smell anything.
Yeah, like I was on a Facebook page for headaches, and they were talking about, when we talked about last week about cluster headaches, about being the most painful, and one of the treatments for that is a calcium channel blocker. I won't mention the brand, which is a great preventative. And one guy said it absolutely cured me, and blah 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 blah, and I have no cluster headaches for 3 years now. I'm just taking these every day.
Wow!
And then the next comment under it, someone said, now they made my cluster headaches way worse. I can't even. Yeah, I couldn't stay on it for more than a week, and I'm have to go. And it's like they're two individuals, the exact same disease, completely polar opposite treatment. So that's what you're going to get with all this.
Yep.
Now, why is that? I don't know, but it's just there's we don't know everything about the human body. But is this a guide you can use?
It's a generality, and it's a good place to start. And then you can use that to assess. Okay, like as I said, for me, perfectly, I fit into that perfect O model.
Yeah.
If I eat like that, I feel better.
Yeah.
Bloating goes down. I feel lighter. Feel happier. Energy levels. Everything. Right. So for me, I can absolutely attest.
I'll give you that printout.
I'm a typical. Yeah, thank you. I'm a typical O. I am.
I'll clip this one.
Yeah, you do.
The A's, which is
and you can wipe your tears with it, Steve.
I know. I was trying to find something really positive about A's, and being an A, I thought, it's got to be something here. We were gonna, and there was really bugger all.
No, not much.
It's a shame.
It is.
It's not good.
Never mind. All right. Thanks, Steve-O.
Okay,
some FAQs, Steve.
Yes, let's go.
Guys, we love it when you write in the good, the bad, the ugly, the questions, the weird ones, anything. Yeah. Steve and I are up for it. Well, actually, it specifically says Jeff can read out questions, do not answer. Because Steve is the qualified naturopath. Anytime you hear me say anything, and look, even with Steve as well too, and as we've just said, look, guys, at the end of the day, this is for information purposes. Start a thread if you're frustrated, not sure. Don't take this as medical advice. This is purely information for you to go back to your healthcare practitioner and ask them to do a little bit of research, do a little bit of information. Yeah. But please, any of these questions, even if they're relatively benign, always go and talk with your healthcare expert, whether that's a personal trainer on training, whether that's a doctor in terms of medication, whether it's a nutritionist or a dietitian. You need to make sure that this information is just information.
Absolutely.
All right. I think there's enough of that.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. This is for one of our listeners. You know who you are. And again, we're doing this anonymity as well too, guys. We used to read out people's handles and stuff like that. But look, just in this world of, Medibank and Optus being hacked and, all that sort of stuff. We're just Medibank got hacked last night. Yeah. Was it Medibank or Medicare? I don't know. I think it was Medibank. Anyway, guys, we're just looking after your anonymity. If you hear your question being read out in the podcast, please get in contact because we know who you are and the guys are waiting for you downstairs. Yeah. Just say, hey, I'm such and such. They read out my question on the podcast. If you get in contact with us, we're going to send you out some freebies and a thank you. So, all right. I'm not sure what episode this is, but I love this episode.
Yeah.
Thanks, gents. Could you please do a podcast on metabolism, but more specifically recovery of the metabolism for yo-yo dieting and restrictive eating? There's lots of information on our metabolisms, but this can change when you've been sucked into a diet culture and it feels as though there isn't a lot of information on what changes when you restrict calories for a certain period of time. Love this one. Thanks again. Steve.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack there, and we have we've beaten around the bush there a few times, but probably time for an update. But Steve, what's your thoughts on that?
Sure. What we're talking about here is, let's say you're going on a big calorie restricted diet for an event or whatever, you're trying to lose weight for summer, and all of a sudden you've got to go off this highly restrictive diet. So it could be like a very, very low calorie diet, like 1,200 calories. Now, you've got to come off that eventually or you'll just, stuff. So what we call is the microbiome changes and you get higher amounts of firmicutes when you eat less calories to say, I'm starving, So I'm going to draw more calories out of the food to stop myself from starving.
Makes sense. Actually, you know what? I don't think I've actually put two and two together.
That's how, like if you're in the bush, you're a hunter and gatherer, say you're a blood O type and you're a hunter and gatherer, and you're not so successful.
Hey.
Now, let's just say,
You're right.
It's just it never happened.
No.
But your bugs in your gut, I should say. I was going to say.
Gut bugs?
Yeah, gut bugs.
Not your butt bugs. And I don't know how you eat, Steve, but I'm not into suppositories. I like it going down this way.
No, absolutely true.
Yep.
So all the bugs change in here to get more calories out of your food.
Right.
So then you go back off your diet.
Boom.
And then your body fills up with fat again because you could starve again soon.
So clarifying question.
Yeah.
What you're saying, and correct me if this assumption is wrong, just clarifying what he's saying. Your advice, Steve, is that when you restrict calories, the firmicutes effectively start multiplying?
Yeah.
I thought they started dying off.
Well, if you're still eating, they still sit there and they grow more because the body is trying to. You end up with more. For example, methanobrevibacter is a classic one. Yeah, I know.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, I know. But
is that MVP?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that gut bug is associated with people who are associated with anorexia nervosa.
Oh.
It's super high in, and bulimia. So the bug grows and multiplies there. Remember, at the expense of other ones.
Sure.
So you get more bugs, you just get more of this particular species, and it says, "Come on, I'll help you get more calories out of this food to help the organism survive, so I survive." So this firmicute grows more to grow more calories out. So let's say you're on a 1,200 calorie diet, and all of a sudden you go into a 2,000 calorie diet, then you're going to get more calories out of the food because you've got more bugs breaking it down of this particular type,
right?
And therefore you're going to put on more weight, and that's why a lot of people, put on weight.
Yo-yo dieting.
Also, thyroid levels drop, and then that sort of thing.
Again.
So they said again, the thyroid is like another great survival mechanism because you want it to drop. You want to produce more reverse T3, which puts the handbrake on your thyroid, because if your metabolism stays high while you're starving, you'll starve quicker.
Yeah.
So there's a nice
natural happen. And I think this is the thing, like, I guess the easiest way for me to understand it, Steve, would be like bends. So when you dive into the water, you can go down, but you need to come up slowly so that your body can adjust. Same, would you say it's the same as dieting as well too?
Absolutely.
Don't go from 0 to 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Gradually sort of change the way that you do it. The other thing I was going to ask, Steve, if you are on a restrictive diet, and obviously your body's certain gut bugs are growing, certain ones are going dormant. We know that certain ones also for survival mechanism throw out spores and sort of go into hibernation. So as soon as the water comes back in, the sugar, the whatever it is, all of a sudden you've got even a greater abundance, right?
Correct.
So they're almost like training at altitude and then they're brought down to a lower level playing field and they just explode. Is that correct?
Exactly right. And you've also got to match that with an increase in exercise because that's good for your gut microbiome as well, but it's also good for your thyroid and it will stop that rebound weight gain.
So with the rebound weight gain as well too, and again, a lot of people do these 12-week challenges or they're going to do a competition or something like that. If you were to put in certain ingredients, certain compounds to kill off and restrict and inhibit some of the bad bacteria, could that be something you could do at the same time?
You need rich polyphenol-rich foods because they kill the microbiome that causes this weight gain.
So while you're restricting your calories, if you add in high-caliber polyphenols that kill off and poison bad bacteria, then that could also inhibit rebound weight gain as well.
Oh, absolutely will.
Would it change the desires for certain foods as well too?
Changes the desire for food because you're killing. Because you remember that these bugs are trying to survive, and they survive by knocking out. Like, let's say they're sugar-loving ones, like the firmicutes ones. They love sugar. Okay, so they want sugar. So they send out chemicals to the body, basically. It ends up in the body and the brain where it says, come on, feed me sugar, because they're trying to survive.
And this is what you see with specifically competitive athletes.
Yeah.
And Mick Galley, who used to work for us, used to do this all the time.
Yeah.
On his Instagram page, it was all about food.
Yeah.
It was all about food porn. It was like, and you'd even see people take photos of their little stashes of like Snickers and Mars bars and I'm going to eat bear claws. And they're just dreaming about food Steve, is it because their gut bugs are saying to their brain,
feed me sugar. Absolutely.
Give me sugar. And because their willpower is so strong, they're not. Yeah. But if you could kill those gut bugs while they're in that state, then there's more chance that you won't desire those things when the restrictive diet comes to an end.
Yeah, you might psychologically desire it, but you won't physiologically desire it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might go, I haven't eaten chocolate for a while. I feel like that, but you won't be going like, sugar, and that's the problem, because you can't regulate yourself if you're absolutely craving it. So
all right, well, we could definitely do one on metabolism, Steve, because
very much so.
there's some other things in metabolism, like, crashing your metabolism, and again, things that you can do to enhance it, things that you can do to restrict it. I mean, again, those VLCD diets that you talk about are very controversial. And probably for good reason as well, too. I mean, you heard about the guy with the metabolism. He only ate potatoes for 12 months. So, Steve, people do some really wacky things from time to time, right? And as we always like to say, there's the piper to pay. So, depending on what you're doing, there might be a better way of doing it, limiting the downsides and maybe increasing the upside.
Only eating potatoes.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, thank you, Steve. All right, awesome. Next one.
Yes.
I wish I knew all this when I was 14. The first 2 to 3 days of my period, I was curled up in a ball, unable to walk, eat, or drink. The doctor put me on the pill and told me to take painkillers. Fast forward 25 years, and I had a hysterectomy due to a huge fibroids. Then another 5 years later, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, both of which I've now found out are caused by the same problem as my original problem. Classic case of masking the problem instead of fixing it. I take a lot more of an active approach to my health now rather than just going with what the doctors tell me. Thanks for the podcast, guys. Keep it up. Steve-O, and this is something I know that you're passionate about, something I am absolutely uniquely qualified not to talk about. But, Steve, I do notice that obviously we do have a lot of people talking about this as well too. Do you want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on that comment?
Sure. She's relating to a disease called endometriosis, which is when the endometrium inside the uterus grows outside the uterus, throughout the body. Now, you can imagine when you're having a period and you're bleeding, it comes out of the vagina. Okay, we can talk about that. But if you're bleeding internally, say the endometrium is inside the body and the blood's released there, you can get immense amounts of pain. So endometriosis is one of the more painful conditions. It's right up there, so it's an incredibly painful condition. Now, what she was treated with was the contraceptive pill, because that regulates hormones, which sounds good in theory, but it doesn't address the cause of this. Endometriosis is not caused by a deficiency of the pill or deficiency of painkillers. It masks the problem. Now, what causes endometriosis is the retrograde, endometrium growing out of the ovaries and out through the ovaries, out through the fallopian tube. So terrible. We did a whole podcast on that. So the treatment for this needs to be balancing out the hormones in the body. This is typically estrogen dominant. So typically estrogen dominance is associated with certain cancers, so particularly thyroid cancer. So you can see there that there was signs that there was excessive estrogen early and it wasn't addressed. So therefore it went on to unfortunately cause thyroid cancer, which is, a terrible cancer. It's unfortunately it's fortunately curable. You remove the thyroid, but then you're on thyroxine for the rest of your life. So it's not, this is a case of the fire alarm is going off, but we're ignoring it and we're just putting earmuffs on. That's what's happening here when you're giving someone painkillers in the pill when they've got endometriosis, not addressing the cause.
So thanks, Steve. Yeah. And again,
podcast, we talked about treatments of endometriosis.
Yeah. And look, guys, as far as this is concerned, it's always good to go and talk to healthcare practitioners about this. Obviously we've got our mainstream doctors, and look, there's some really great ones out there. I like integrated doctors as well too, who look at things a little bit more holistically. Sure. You've also then got practitioners as well too that you can go and talk to about these things and appreciate it. I said to my wife the other day, I said, you know what? Females are lovely and fearful creatures, which she is, but they are very complex, more complex, I think, than males, probably in every aspect, actually, let's face it. But they have got a lot going on. Whereas men, we're quite kind of simple. Literally, I feel like we are the on and off switch, whereas women are the combination of all these dials and all these processes that are happening. I mean, and when things go wrong, and look, they do with males as well too. I'm not saying that, we don't need to go and see doctors in healthcare. We certainly do. But with these kind of issues, Steve, in the 20 years that I've been in business, I've heard of a lot of these things. And it is sad when people have things like this go wrong and they don't know where to go for a second, third opinion, consider some other ideas, some other treatment.
Absolutely. You consider it, see a healthcare professional. Yeah. Consult a naturopath as well.
Yeah. Good one. All right. That's all that we've got time for today. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll be back with more.